All right, hello. Excuse me. Hello. All right, to clear my throat. I'm okay. Hello. I am back. Not too long. I guess that was like 20 minutes, but that's fine. Close enough. I did get a drink. Went to the bathroom. All that good stuff. Walked around a little bit. Try not to get them blood clots that everybody talks about. I probably should exercise. It's still fucking raining. Who the fuck put so much rain in this place? What do I want to do while it's raining? While it's fucking raining. Cats and dogs. Can't do no Sanitar. Can't do no Tequila. Can't do none of these fucking things. Oh, God. Gluhar? I mean, Gluhar's kind of a pain in the ass. Rashalem? Nah. Sturman? I mean, I could go Woods again. Welcome back? Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Do I even want to play Tarkov? It's so fucking empty, dude. Still fucking raining as well. Like, bro. What game am I fucking playing? Don't know. I don't know. I do wish I had like got more playtime in while I was still invested. I don't feel like as interested in Tarkov anymore. Tarkov's like a hard game to put down. But I definitely am not feeling it as much anymore. I mean, what do I really care about? Not too much, to be honest. I'm just thinking of what I want to do. We just finished the melee achievement and the Zrechi achievement. Happy about it. I don't know. I don't know what I've been told. Tarkov. Hard to encounter anybody. Couldn't really make it rhyme. That's fine. I guess we'll do a woods raid. I don't know. Do I even want to do a woods raid? It's raining too much, so. Manage. Nothing really that I want to play today outside of Tarkov, but I also like Tarkov's just kind of empty. I mean, I can give it a break until after the event is over, and then maybe after the event is over, there'll be enough people to kind of make me want to, you know, give it another try. I did want to do a tier list. Maybe we do the tier list now while it's raining. How does that sound? Little tier list while it's raining? Do that, little tier list while it's raining, and then we get back to some Tarkov after the rain. That doesn't sound like a bad idea. I feel like that's a decent idea. Let's do that. Let me go to the tier maker website. So I have to make this tier list myself. Because it does not exist anywhere. But I did go and I snipped out every little piece of stuff that I need. So I just have to go in and grab it all. Can I highlight multiple of these and then open? Oh my god, I can. That makes it so much easier. Holy fucking shit. Oh my god, I didn't know you could do that. That saves me so much time. I thought I'd have to go in and select each one individually. But I can just select them all. Oh, that's fucking clean. Okay, that made me happy. Because I legitimately thought I was going to have to select them all and I was going to be here for like 10 minutes. But we're done. We're ready to go. Fucking gaming. It's just that easy. I will name the stream Helmet Tier List. So we're going to do a tier list for helmets in Tarkov, but I'm only going to do helmets that you can wear headsets with. And there's a couple reasons for this, and I will explain. But we're going to do a little tier list because I wanted to. I'm not sure how many tiers I feel like I need, but we're going to go with the default amount of tiers for now. There's 28 helmets that we're going to rank. 28 pieces of equipment, I guess you could say. My god, the ads are tremendous. The ads are tremendous. Alright. That should be good. Let me get a little window capture action going on here. Window capture. That was me, don't worry about it. Okay. Okay. We're good to go. So we've got our tier list. We've got 28 helmets. 28 helmets. So I'm only going to do helmets that you can wear a headset with. To make that clear. The reason for this is because at the start of the wipe, one of these things doesn't belong. If you're talking about the bomber beanie, it does provide armor. So it does provide armor, so don't get it twisted. It does provide a little bit of helmet armor. I don't know. Can I tab into the game or is that going to break everything? No, it doesn't. Nice. Is it tier 1? It is tier 1. We'll get to that, okay? We'll get to that. So the reason I'm only doing things that you can wear headsets with is because of multiple reasons. Reason number 1 is, personally, I just think that my playstyle, I feel like you need a headset. I don't really like running headsetless helmets except on factory. So I don't really feel like I can give a very unbiased opinion. And I feel like helmets are a very objective thing. So I feel like the difference between helmets with a headset and helmets without a headset is so major that you can't really rank them against each other super well. I really do feel like they need to be separated. So I do feel like whatever's S tier, you can't really rank it against like the S tier version of a helmet with a visor and no helmet. Like it's hard to rank them against each other. So I don't really think that they mix well in that aspect, and I don't really feel like I can give like an unbiased opinion because this list is going to be kind of objective in my opinion. And I'll explain what I'm ranking them on in a second. The second reason is because I personally do think that just outside of my own playstyle, having a headset is just much stronger in Tarkov than a visor, especially with the new armor changes and the time to kill. So I do kind of feel like the helmets without headsets. I don't know what you call them, like unheadset helmets. Like, I don't know, non-headset helmets, whatever you want to call them. I don't really feel like they're as viable. But the third main reason is because I don't really have a valid opinion of the good helmets this wipe without headsets, because at the start of the wipe, they were super bad. Like, for the first 3 months, they were basically unusable, unviable, in my opinion, because headsets gave so much of a distance advantage. Excuse me. And the time to kill was reduced so much because of the recoil and the armor changes that not being able to hear your opponent before they heard you was such a disadvantage. And your armor was pretty fucking paper if you didn't know what armor to wear at the start of the wipe. And with the needed updates that they put into the game after, you just died super quick, that it didn't really matter how tough your helmet was. You just fucking died to the chest anyways. Which, the whole idea of the super tanky helmets is that they produce your awareness, but usually you'll survive the initial burst of bullets that get shot at you, because somebody else always gets to drop on you. But you'll survive that because you're so tanky, and then you can reevaluate the situation, you can get to cover, you can heal up a little bit, and then you can take the situation head on, and now they have to get through your armor head on. So if they don't kill you in that first engagement, which usually it's harder for them to do because your helmet's so tanky, you pair it with really good armor, you can just kind of bulldoze your way through situations just to sheer survivability. But that's not really a thing anymore, because no matter how tough your helmet is, your armor's pretty weak. No matter how strong your armor is, you can still get killed by a lot of shit pretty quickly. So it's like, and with the recoil changes, people can put a lot more bullets down range very quickly. In the past, it used to be that if you stayed out in the open, it was more dangerous. Now it's that first burst is the most dangerous, because they have like 5 to 10 bullets of super accurate bullets, then the recoil gets bad, like in other FPSs. Where in the past, Tarkov used to be that first 5 to 10 bullets was pretty bad and inaccurate, but then the next like 20 were laser beams. So if you didn't get to cover after those first 5 to 10 bullets, you were toast. But you had those first 5 to 10 bullets to react to the situation and get to cover before you were laser beamed. But now that's not really the case. If you get caught out in the open, a lot of times you just fucking die. So I don't really feel like visored helmets are worth wearing. They did change the headsets now. I do feel like the visored helmets, like without a headset, are a little bit more viable. Stuff like Killa, Alton, you know, Rise, stuff like that. Like, those stuff are a little bit more viable. But I haven't used them personally because they were so bad for the majority of the wipe that I don't really feel like I can give a valid opinion. So that's why they're not included in this list. Bit of a long-winded explanation, but that's fine. In terms of what I'm ranking these helmets on, I'm ranking them on objective strength to value, in my opinion. So how good they are to their value and their strength. Now, the modifications that you can put on the helmets, I'm just going to talk about when I get to the helmet. They're not going to be like ranked separately or anything. Just to be clear. So that should be pretty much everything said that needs to be said. Should be pretty much everything. What should we start with? Should we start with the bomber beanie, because it is the odd one out? Should we start with the bomber beanie? So the bomber beanie, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't have. I'm gonna go into Tarkov just to double check, because this isn't something that I use very often, because I don't use the flea market, so don't really have many of these available to me. It is ricochet chance low. It's armor class 1, and it only protects I think the top of your head, maybe your nape. It's actually interesting that it gives armor at all, but I would say this is pretty D tier, because it can only be bought for 30,000 rubles. It's quite expensive to sell, and it only provides level 1 armor, and it's got a low ricochet chance. If it had a high ricochet chance and it was cheaper, then maybe it'd be worth wearing. But this is definitely, I just put it on there because it is something that provides armor, and you can still wear a headset with it. Some people do role play as a scav with this thing, so you could role play as a scav with this on, but it only protects the top of your head and your nape. It's got low ricochet chance, tier 1 armor. It's not even going to stop buckshot most of the time. So yeah, it's basically nothing. We can just say it's basically nothing. We can go up a little bit. The Tac Kek. So the Tac Kek does have high ricochet chance. the thing is with the TAC is that it was actually quite good before, when the headsets did have differences to how far you could hear, because you could buy a TAC for super cheap off the flea market, and then you could strap a rack headset to it, which people can strip your rack headset, but they aren't really going to take the TAC, and it does protect your top of your head and your nape, and it's high ricochet chance. The thing is now is that rack headsets are basically the same people as every other headset. People will just take your rack headset, it's only 2 slots, and they'll just sell that. So you can still do that strategy. So this is like a super cheap helmet, but it's still 30K to be fair on the flea market. Obviously you'll sometimes get them cheaper, the flea market varies, but I think sadly with that it's kind of bad. I would say it's better than a bomber beanie, obviously, but I don't think it's ever worth wearing now, really. I mean, if you have one in your stash, you could throw a rack headset onto it, and it's like better than wearing nothing, but it's not really worth buying, if that makes sense. Like, I wouldn't buy this. I would just buy a normal headset. And then, because normal headsets get stolen less than rack headsets, because rack headsets are smaller and they sell for quite a lot, so... And rack headsets don't provide any kind of advantage now. And I'm pretty sure rack headsets still have the same exact audio profile as the Swordens. So if you like their audio profile, you can just wear Swordens instead. And Swordens are cheaper, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, pretty useless now, the TAC. I mean, you can put the other... I mean, you can put night vision on it. That's one nice thing, I guess. You can put night vision on it. It probably is one of the cheapest ways you could put night vision. I didn't think about that. That is something. Yeah, it's like one of the cheapest ways you can put night vision. I don't think that bumps it up to C tier, though. It does let you put on night vision real cheap, though. And people aren't going to steal it very often. I don't know what else is going to go into C tier. We'll put it into C tier for now, because it does let you put on night vision. And that is sometimes useful, because sometimes it can be hard to find other helmets that let you put on night vision. So it can be a very cheap night vision alternative, if you do want to run night vision. So we'll put it there for now. One thing, we're gonna rank these helmets, the 6B47 helmets. So these helmets, a lot of people wear these early on in the wipe. The main reason I would say that people do is because they're so easy to acquire. I don't think these are actually that good. I mean, the ricochet chance is high, and they are level 3 armor. Early on in the wipe, level 3 helmets are not bad. And I'm going to be talking about this. Anytime a level 3 helmet comes up, I'm going to be talking about this. Early on in the wipe, because of the way that the progression in the ammo is now, level 3 helmets aren't bad. But past like the first month of the wipe, I would say, you do not want to be wearing level 3 helmets ever. Because level 4 helmets give you such an advantage, and they will stop bullets very regularly until late in the wipe. Because of the way the ammo progression is, at least for right now, this wipe, and probably next wipe at least. You want to be wearing level 4 helmets as much as possible. Level 3 helmets you want to drop as soon as possible. But they can be useful early on in the wipe. So that is something to consider. And the 6B47 doesn't really have many downsides. It will muffle your hearing a little bit, because helmets with ear protection do muffle hearing a tiny bit, but it's not a noticeable amount. And the floral one actually is harder to acquire, but I'm going to rank it the same. It used to have lower ricochet chance, but it doesn't now, apparently, according to the handbook in game. And it does protect your top of your head, your nape, your ears. So this is actually quite a decent helmet early on in the wipe. I'm not going to put it into A tier because it's only like early on in the wipe. And these are effectively exactly the same. I mean, this one might be a little bit better camouflaged, but so we'll put it a little bit ahead of it. How about that? But early on in the wipe, I would wear this. It has high ricochet chance. Late in the wipe, I would avoid these. I don't think they're ever worth wearing. I think later in the wipe, you do not want to be wearing anything that's lower than tier 3 or tier 4. You do not, like, pretty much there's only 2 tiers of helmets, basically, effectively, is tier 3 and tier 4. You don't really want to be wearing tier 3 past like the first month of the wipe, in my opinion. You want to drop everything else. Buying these is way more expensive than I think the value you're going to get out of them early wipe. I think you should just use them if you have them. And then obviously later in the wipe, like I said, you shouldn't buy them. That segues really into this helmet, the SSH. This is really what you should be buying early wipe. This is actually worth buying. These things are dirt fucking cheap for some reason. Although they have been increased. They're 29,000, but people are not going to be stealing these very often. You're not going to be having these stolen off of you. They're very good early wipe. They've got high ricochet chance. They don't protect your ears, but they do protect pretty well. And they've got, like, most of your head covered. And they have high ricochet chance. Actually, it does protect your ears, apparently. I don't think it used to. Maybe it did. I'm not sure. And the ergonomics is -3%. It used to be a lot more, but their price used to be cheaper. It is a little bit more expensive now, but it does protect your ears and it doesn't have as much of an ergonomic penalty. This is what you want to be running, because that 6B47 costs you way too much. I would not buy this. It's 39,000 for the helmet. It's gonna get stolen pretty often because it is just better. Other than the night vision mount, the only difference is you lose 2% ergonomics over the SSH helmet. So if you really like want to run a helmet early wipe, like you're using like a bigger gear run early wipe, then you just buy the SSH. If you want to do night vision, then obviously the 6B47 is your only option, but you unlock the SSH really early on. So I would say it's just a better helmet than these, just in terms of how much usability it has. But it has, like, it follows the same rules as this helmet, basically. It's just cheaper and has no night vision. That's about it. And has the slightly higher ergonomic penalty. In terms of the Untar helmet, I would put this down here. So the Untar helmet is actually identical to the 6B47, except it's blue. And I wouldn't actually say that camouflage matters that much in this game, except for a couple objects. Mainly like the pilgrim backpack, and sometimes armbands can get you spotted, like very bright armbands. Glasses get you spotted because they kind of have like a foggy, like shiny look to them, so you can spot people through bushes and in the distance and the fog and stuff. And stuff like the Untar helmet and some of the other helmets I'll get to in a little bit. But I would not wear this except on like really low gear runs. Early on in the wipe, it's okay. I might put it above the tac kick because the tac kick doesn't really have much usability. It is level 3. It does have high ricochet chance, but I would not wear this that often, except early on in the wipe on like customs or something. Somewhere where you're not going to be, you know, in bushes that much. You're going to be kind of like in terrain where if somebody spots you, they're going to spot your whole silhouette. You know what I mean? They're not going to spot you through some bushes. Because that blue helmet will get you spotted, like 100%. But there's not much to say because it's basically identical to a 6B47. What else can we go? Well, I guess we'll do the shattered face masks. So these are actually really popular. These two face masks are exactly the same, the glorious and the shattered. But the cost of insurance is the same, or it's based off of the worth of the item. And what this means is that the glorious face mask, while it is identical, is going to cost a lot more to insure. So I would put that below wherever I put the shattered face mask just because of that. It's just slightly below because it does cost a little bit more to insure. So every time you run it, you're going to be having to pay a little bit more. People aren't going to take people might take the glorious face mask every now and then just because it is a little bit of money. But it's not very good money, so some people might take it, but I doubt that many people will. But this does protect your face, your head top, your eyes, and your jaw, all with level 1 protection, which isn't good, but it has high ricochet chance, these two masks. So it's something with no downside that gives your face high ricochet chance, and that means that you can effectively be protected from anything in the game, even a grenade launcher, right? So a grenade launcher can hit you in the face, and technically one of these can stop it. But they are only level 1 face protection with a high ricochet chance. I would say that they're like here, in my opinion. I wouldn't wear them over an actual helmet, but they're a nice thing to run for very cheap if you get one off a scav. The shattered face mask is level 4 ragman to unlock it, so I wouldn't say you're buying it, but it's very cheap. It's 8,000 rubles. So on like a cheap run, I can see people running these. Like I said, I put the glorious lower because it is going to cost more from insurance, and you have to buy them off the flea market if you do want to run one. Actually, they're probably going to sell quite expensive on the flea market, so I would actually probably put the glorious way down. Although, I mean, if we're going off of... I'd probably put it down here, actually, just because you're going to have to spend quite a lot for it, and you could just sell it. Whereas a shattered face mask, you can loot it off a scav or something, or you can buy one off the flea market for not that expensive, I don't think. So I think the Shattered Face Mask is a little bit better than the Untar helmet. It's not going to get you spotted. It gives you level 1 face protection with high ricochet chance. So you have a little bit of a chance to survive anything in the game, but it's not good. But it's super cheap. People aren't really going to take it that often, and it has no downsides. So it has some pros to the cons of not really being that much protection. Basically, the last helmet, actually last 2 helmets, I would say. There's 3 helmets, 4 helmets, 5 helmets that are tier 3. So we'll go through the rest of those, and then we'll move on to the tier 4 helmets, in my opinion. So let's go to the LZSH. Too many people wear this fucking helmet. This helmet is shit. Okay? I want to say it now. This helmet is shit. Do not wear this helmet. Okay? There's pretty much no reason why you should be wearing this helmet. It genuinely is that bad. Sorry, I'm pulling it up in game because I want to look at it just so I can make sure I'm 100% correct with all the stuff I'm talking about. So this helmet is strictly worse than a 6B47 because it does not protect your ears and it has medium ricochet chance. Ricochet chance pretty much never happens unless you have high ricochet chance. Anything with medium, basically just disregard. It's not going to happen. But high ricochet chance does happen very rarely. So it is worth to consider, but that's not why you wear helmets. But it is an added benefit that you can survive any bullet in the game, potentially. So this helmet is actually a little bit cheaper than the 6B47, but it is so much worse. It can mount like fast MT attachments, which some people will say, oh, that's the benefit of it, right? It can mount fast MT attachments, but you lose high ricochet chance, you lose ear protection, and there's no good fast MT attachments until late game. The only good fast MT attachment that you could possibly run is the Tarkov Trooper Mask that you can get off of like in secret stashes and boxes and stuff, right? So if you get one of those, early wipe. If you can't sell it, I would probably just sell it because they're probably quite expensive early on in the wipe. Well, actually, maybe not. It depends. Depends on what they're worth. But if you want to run that, you have one in your stash and you want to run it, then LZSH, sure. You know what I mean? It's kind of worth it for that because that's tier 2 face protection with no downsides. But the fast MT visor is kind of expensive and it can't be bought until like level 4 Peacekeeper. You might even have to finish a task for it. So that's not really a viable option. The little like visor that just protects your eyes is trash. It's not really even worth considering. It has no protection whatsoever. I mean, it's level 2 protection for just your eyes, basically. Which I wouldn't really, and it has downsides. So that's not really an option in my opinion. Mandible is super expensive and is high tier. So this thing basically has no attachments that can be put on except for the like the Tarkov Trooper Mask. One thing is that you do unlock it at level 2 Ragman, which you can get quite easily. Level 2 Prapor has the 6B47 helmets though. I just don't think there's really a world where I wear this helmet. I actually would probably rather wear a Shattered Face Mask because it's so much cheaper and it has high ricochet chance over my face. This thing has no real positives in my eyes. Like I don't think I've worn a single one this entire wipe. It just isn't worth wearing in my opinion. Even if I get it off of other people, I just sell it and buy a better helmet, to be honest. So yeah, I don't rate this helmet. I don't really rate any helmet that only has a medium ricochet chance. I think medium ricochet chance is just not really worth wearing because you're giving away that kind of luck factor of your helmet actually doing something. So I wouldn't rate this very highly, but I would rate it over an Untar helmet because at least it won't get you spotted, and you can mount night vision on it, and you can mount the Trooper Mask and stuff like that, but I would rather run a Shattered Face Mask, to be honest. So yeah, that's that in my opinion. Next, we're on to the Helm. The Helm is pretty bad in my opinion. It's not a great helmet because it's only lootable. You can't buy this helmet, but it does have high ricochet chance, and you can't sadly mount like a fast MT visor on it. And it doesn't protect your ears, but you can mount the ballistic face shield and you can mount the visor. But it kind of goes into what I said about the ballistic face shield, like the fast MT visor, is it's super expensive, and I wouldn't really put it on a level 3 helmet. Like, I just wouldn't. It's just kind of a waste. It basically costs the same amount as your whole helmet, and if you're putting it on a level 3, it's not great. I would rank this over the LZSH. It does have a lot more durability, and that is going to make it stop some more bullets. I would probably actually wear this helmet over a shattered face mask. It does have high ricochet chance. It does protect the top of your head and the back. It's just no ear protection, but it does have a mount for night vision. So I would say it's better than those. But I wouldn't say it's as good as the 6B47, especially since you have to buy it off the flea market. But it does have high durability, so there's some upsides there. But it can't have like it can't have a mandible or the trooper mask. So I would say it's not that great. Still like C tier in my opinion. It's still tier 3 armor. When you're getting into tier 3 helmets that aren't very readily available, I don't think that they're actually worth buying most of the time. Like if you're going onto the flea market to buy these helmets, unless they're super cheap, I don't really think it's worth it. I think the helm is all right. I would wear it. I have worn it. It's all right, but it's not great. It's not great in my opinion. Next, we're going to talk about the Neo Steel. The Neo Steel, in my opinion, is fucking trash. And the reason for that is because, my God, I don't know what they were thinking with this fucking helmet. This was added this wipe. It is tier 3, right? Which I honestly think is a mistake. I think it's meant to be tier 4, but I mean, I guess not. It's got 72 health points, which means that it is going to be a little bit stronger than other tier 3 helmets. It can't have any attachments other than night vision and the mandible that it comes with, like the shark mouth mandible. That mandible is really cool. It's a really cool mandible. It's super sick. But it is extremely hard to acquire. It is tier 3 armor around your jaws and your ears and your face and your throat, apparently. So it's really good armor, but it is super hard to acquire. I haven't seen a single one. They're, like, even late into the wipe, there's still hundreds of thousands of rubles on the flea market. And they don't even have very much durability. And it's still a level 3 helmet at the end of the day. And the helmet itself is fucking expensive. I think it's level 4 Ragman. I'm going to double check just to be sure. It's level 3 Ragman. So it's level 3 Ragman for a 72,000 ruble helmet. This is trash, in my opinion. I would wear it over a bomber beanie, but it's just not worth purchasing ever. Like, I just don't see myself purchasing it. Would I run it over a TAC Kek? Probably not, because the way I'm ranking these things, people will say like, oh, but the Neo Steel is obviously a better helmet than the TAC Kek. But I'm thinking about the usability of the item. You know what I mean? In what situations would I use this Neo Steel helmet? And I can't think of a single one. I'd rather just sell it and buy a better helmet. You know what I mean? I'd rather sell it, buy myself a 6B47 and a TAC Kek with the money. I can buy both. Use the 6B47 on an all-right run, and then use the TAC Kek on a cheap-ass run. Neo Steel just doesn't fit, I feel like. It just doesn't fit in here anywhere. I honestly think I'd put it below the Glorious Mask, because at least with the Glorious Mask, I'd be like, you know, I can run it a little bit, but I'd probably just sell the Glorious Mask. I think it's D tier for me. I think it's D tier. A little bit above the Glorious Mask, because if you do find that mandible, it is cool as shit, and it is kind of decent, but it is still level 3. But level 3 face protection is actually quite good, like that mandible. But I don't know why I keep doing this, but that's fine. I mean, I'm showing off the mandible. But the helmet itself is really tragic without the mandible. So if you find the mandible, it's kind of all right and worth considering. Keep that in mind. But outside of the mandible, just throw that shit away. You know what I mean? It's just not worth worrying about. Moving on to our last tier 3 helmet. This one's a good one. The Tor. This is, I don't know how new this helmet is, but this is actually a really solid helmet. This is a really solid helmet. It's a shame you get it at such a late level. You get it at level 3 Ragman. But, and it is quite expensive, 58,000, quite an expensive helmet. But, it can equip a visor. It is a level 3 visor, but it is a level 3 visor that protects your eyes, your face, and your jaw. And it does not restrict your headphones, right? It has ear protection and a visor and does not restrict your headphones. And it has high ricochet chance. That is a really solid helmet. It is quite pricey. It is going to set you back quite a lot of money, but it is quite a solid helmet, and you don't really have any other options for something like that. So I think in that alone, I would say the Tor is quite good, just because it facilitates something that you're not really going to have any other options to do. The only other option, if you want like a helmet that protects your ears and it protects, like, you have a visor, I mean airframe with chops and a visor, exfil with ears and a visor, fast MT with ears and a visor. I mean, like, you see what I'm getting at. These are all really expensive options. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they're tier 4 helmets with those options, but they're really expensive. You know what I mean? Like, you're spending like upwards of 200k on your helmet at that point, whereas this thing is only like 100k, and it provides these things for you. I wouldn't say it's better than the SSH in terms of usability. I don't think you're going to use it that often, but it is a really decent option, especially on some factory runs. Pretty decent. You can run a visor, ear protection, tier 3 ricochet chance, or tier 3 with high ricochet chance, and you still have headphones. That's really decent. Like, that is really decent. I did not use it that much this wipe, but I honestly probably should have. Actually, a very decent option. It's a shame you unlock it so late with level 3 Ragman, but I would actually recommend it. I actually think that's a solid helmet. The last thing that we're going to go talk about here that is not a tier 4 helmet is the Death Knight face mask. Now, this one is a bit of an odd one because I think it looks fucking wicked, so I'm a little bit biased. I think it is one of the coolest cosmetic looking items in the game. It is sadly very misleading. It only protects the top of your head, which head top basically means forehead, and your eyes. So it's actually only the skull. It's only like the skull like frame that actually stops bullets. The whole like balaclava and the wire dreadlocks, that does not actually stop any bullets, but it does have high ricochet chance and no downside. You can still wear a headset with it. So, and it does look really fucking cool. So, like, that's a plus. I think high ricochet chance. I mean, the shattered face mask is tier 1 high ricochet chance. Doesn't have any downsides. And so the Death Knight face mask would be lower than that. It does have less protection. Doesn't protect your jaw. Is a little bit more expensive. I'd probably put it there, I'd say. I'd probably put it there. It's got that high ricochet chance. I'd say it's probably worth an LZSH or an LSHZ. I've always called it an LZSH. I've only now realized that it's not. That's fine. I do think it's probably better than an Untar helmet. I'd probably like to wear it over an Untar helmet, but that might be just because of the drip. That might just be because of the drip. I don't know how much they sell for, to be honest. How much do they sell for to the trader? Fuck, I don't actually know. And I don't know if you can buy them off the flea market either, actually. Let me quickly look that up, because I'm not actually sure. That's something I'm not sure about. Can you list them on the flea market? You might not be able to. Cannot be listed for sale on the flea market, huh? I don't know how much it sells for. If it sells for quite a lot, then you can probably just sell it, I would assume. That does kind of lower my ranking of it. It might go down to D tier then if it sells for quite a bit. I don't know, because I don't want to rank it just on its aesthetic appearance, but I do really like its aesthetics. But that does make me a little bit biased. I think it looks so cool though. I think it's one of the coolest looking items in the game. I really like the Death Knight mask. I don't know how much it sells for. You obviously have to kill Knight to get it. Is it even worth carrying it out of the raid? That's the question. Because if it doesn't sell for much, is it really even worth carrying it out of the raid? I always carry it out because of the drip. That might go down to D tier, honestly. That might go down to D tier. I don't know how much it sells for. And I mean, we have to consider you can't buy it off the flea market. The only way to get it is off of Knight himself. And if you kill him, chances are there's going to be a lot of other loot to carry and stuff. I'm going to put it here. Sadly, I am going to put it there because I think outside of the drip, it sadly isn't actually worth carrying out of the raid that often. There's going to be other stuff you can loot. Even if you, like, if it's worth carrying out of the raid, it's going to be worth carrying out of the raid to sell it, not to wear it. So I think it's actually going to go below the Glorious Mask, just because the Glorious Mask, at least you can buy it at the flea market if it goes to, like, a cheap value. Although, probably never going to go to a cheap value. Yeah, I think that those both are, like, just not worth using. All these are just not worth using. So, drip equals most important stat. I mean, I agree, but we're trying to do an objective tier list here. We're trying to do an objective tier list. I agree with you, and I wear the Death Knight mask because I think it looks fucking wicked. But I do think that it's quite bad, thinking about it more. I haven't really realized how bad it is until I think about it. But it's really not that good. I want it to be good. That's the thing, right? That's why I like doing stuff like this, because it challenges how I think about these items, because I'm trying to convey this information to other people, and I want to convey it in such a way that it's as objective, unbiased, and factual as possible. So it challenges my bias I have towards these things on the inside that I don't realize. You know what I mean? Like, I realized that I thought this was a lot better than it was just because of how cool it looks. Like, I just think it looks so fucking cool. But I realized that it's just not worth using, because if the only way to get it, you can't buy it off the flea market. The only way to get it is you kill the goons. And if you kill the goons, there's going to be other stuff you can take out of the raid. Like, even their magazines are probably going to be worth picking up over that. Like, meds, grenades. So it's just not really worth it. And it only protects your top of your face and your eyes with that tier 1 ricochet chance. So it's kind of just straight up worse than a Shattered Face Mask. And Shattered Face Masks are so cheap, honestly. Like, they're legitimately alright. So yeah, not great. Let's have another tier here. Actually, I'm gonna add an extra tier. We're gonna have an E tier. A, B, C, D, E. We're gonna have an E tier. We're gonna have an E tier because I think that these all belong in the E tier. I think the Shattered Face Mask and the Helm are actually decent. These are helmets that I would not say are very decent. These are ones that I would say are trash. And then these are ones that I'd say are actually good. And these are ones that I'd say are great. And these are ones that I'd say are, like, the best. I think this is a lot more fair. A little bit more of a good ranking of it. I am going to get something to drink real quick. I do have something to drink next to me. I have some cranberry juice. Because you guys can say what you think of the tier list so far. Because my mouth is very dry. A drip tier list. I don't really dress for drip. Way too many people dress for drip in Tarkov, compared to how much I do it. To be clear, if you want to dress for drip, go right ahead. Personally, not a fan. Sorry, I'm just drinking because my mouth is fucking dry. No disagreements for the thing. Live fast, die young, leave a good-looking corpse. 'Tis the way. Fair enough. Fair enough. No disagreements with the tier list so far. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So that is all the tier 3 and kind of accessory helmets. Not really like stuff like the Shattered Face Mask, the Death Knight, the Bomber Beanie, stuff like that. Tac Kek, stuff that isn't really helmets, and then all the tier 3s as well. Next is the tier 4s, which I think is the really bread and butter of helmets in general. I think this is really what you're going to be wanting to look at in terms of what gear you should be wearing. I don't know enough about this game to disagree anywhere. No, you're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. The strongest opinion I have about this list is including the beanie. It's a little bit of armor, and it doesn't reduce your helmet. That's the criteria for being on this list. It doesn't need to be a helmet. It's just something that gives you armor around your head and doesn't restrict your helmet. Or it doesn't restrict your headset. That's it. That's it. I mean, I guess I could have included, like, the condors and shit like that. But I view that stuff as more like accessories. Condors. No, yeah. I mean, I could have included those as well. But I think those are, like, accessory type stuff. But now we're going to get into the tier 4 helmets, which I think are like, they're like the bread and butter. This is the stuff you want to be looking at in terms of what helmets you should be wearing, what you should be really running with, all of that good stuff. So, what should we start off with? I say we start off with the one that you're going to see the most, which in my opinion is the TC 2001 and the TC 2002, to be fair, because these kind of go hand in hand. If we look, the TC 2002 has no way of acquiring it. You might be able to craft it in your hideout. I will check that. I think it has a craft in the hideout, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Don't know for sure. But the TC 2001 is purchasable after you finish a quest. It's not too late of a Peacekeeper quest. I don't think it's too high level. And the real thing about these helmets is that you will find them very, very often. So I'm going to check really quick if you can actually craft the TC 2000. They're basically identical. One of them does have a little bit more armor than the other one. Yeah, so you can craft the TC 2002. But even though it does have those extra little flaps for the TC 2000, it does not actually provide ear protection. As much as it seems like it does, it doesn't. I thought it did. It doesn't. So that is fine. But they are basically identical. They have pretty much the same exact stats. And there's no real discernible difference between them. They are level 4, high ricochet chance. They protect your head top and your nape. They're not great helmets, but they are level 4, and they are very cheap because you find them everywhere. It's not just about the fact that you can buy them. You find them everywhere. Not off scavs, but like in stashes, boxes, all this stuff. They are super common, even early wipe. People are wearing a shit ton of these helmets. You'll find them all over the place. They have great camo for any map. They're just a nice, like, dull green. I would say these are basically, like, one of your best early game level 4 helmets. You're going to be wearing these a shit ton, in my opinion. They have space for night vision. No other attachments, but night vision. So I do think that these are probably some of the better helmets. I do think that they are something that you're going to want to be wearing just because of how easily accessible they are. So definitely worth. You saw all the fucking Facebook emojis. Definitely worth wearing. Like, these are bread and butter for early game for sure. Definitely worth wearing those. And just pick them up whenever you see them as well, because level 4 helmets are legitimately will save you a lot early game, but they don't have any bells and whistles. They don't have any distinct upsides compared to some of the other helmets, but they have nothing bad about them, basically. I mean, they don't protect your ears and they can have no attachments, but that just makes them more of a basic helmet rather than anything negative, so to speak. I think next we'll actually talk about something that I've instantly just realized about my own kind of assumptions is the striker helmets are not that good. In comparison to the TC 2000 helmets, these helmets are really not that good because they are 58,000 or so. There's a black one and a green one. I do think black is just a better version for camouflage, because green obviously will stand out indoors and stuff a little bit more. It's not a major amount, but you will notice it, I think. But these helmets, I guess, are a little bit more acquirable. But I mean, like, Peacekeeper level 2, I think. Yeah, it's Peacekeeper level 2. After you finish some quests, you can buy the TC 2001. And it's 449, which is 63. So it's a little bit more expensive than the Strikers. But you're going to find them all over the place. They're going to be cheaper than that on the flea market. And they can mount night vision, whereas the Strikers can't. So I would say that Strikers are decent helmets. But I don't really rate them that highly. They're basically, these are identical, just the color. I don't really think the green is that much of a downside. There is some down here that are identical except for color, and we'll get to that, and they will be ranked lower. But these two, I don't think that green helmet's going to get you spotted anymore. So they're basically identical. I don't think that these are ever really worth buying, because you can just buy a TC 2000, and these are going to be really cheap on the flea market. These have slightly more durability, but the reality is it doesn't really matter because you're not really getting hit in the head that often. The level 4 is what's going to save you. It's not going to be like an edge case in terms of if the bullet pens or not. It's pretty much going to be a definite, will this bullet pen or will it won't? That's really where the extra durability comes in, is when something is like right on the edge of hitting the penetration. So if something's like 28 pen, for example, and it shoots a level 3 helmet, that extra durability might push you over the edge and make it not penetrate. But if something's like 35 pen and hits a level 4 helmet, regardless if it has 30 or 36 or lower than 30, it's not really going to go through. So you don't need to worry about the extra durability that much when you're actually wearing bigger armor, in my opinion. I mean, the extra durability helps, but these are just going to be way more expensive than the TC 1000 and TC 1000 or 2001. And it doesn't really provide anything, so I just wouldn't worry about these. And they're unlocked later at level 3 Ragman. Level 2 Peacekeeper, you have to finish a quest, but super easy. And like I said, these are super cheap on the flea market, so I would say the Strikers are just worse versions of those, to be honest. Especially because no night vision, to be honest. So, next, we can do the TC 800, because it's kind of relevant. The TC 800 is only available off of like raiders and rogues and trade up. It's actually a pretty decent trade up. It's not too bad if you find any maps in safes or anything like that. Why is it not showing up? Oh, there's no dash in it. If you do find a map, you can trade a map and a hard drive at level 3 Peacekeeper potentially for a TC 800. And the TC 800 is actually quite an underrated helmet, I think, because it's level 2 Ragman, I think. Yeah, level 2 Ragman. So quite an easy trade to come by if you find any maps. Maps, I don't think are that expensive on the flea market because they don't really have many uses. Yeah, it's like 30. So you can get one of these helmets for like 40K or something. That's like really decent because it's a level 4 helmet. This might be one of the cheapest level 4 helmets you can get, and it can mount an Ops Core fast visor on it, which is pretty decent. It's a level 4 helmet. It can mount that visor. It's the cheapest helmet you're going to get that's going to be able to mount that helmet or visor that is level 4. I mean, airframes, fast MTs, these things are expensive as shit. TC 800, quite cheap, as I just talked about. It's like 45K or something like that. This helmet is actually very underrated, I think. I think it's quite nice. It doesn't protect your ears, but it does have high ricochet chance, head top. It can have night vision. This is a really good helmet, in my opinion. I would definitely recommend this one. So, that's a good one. Solid helmet. Worth the trade up. If you find any maps, keep them early wipe. Even later into the wipe, it's still a decent helmet. It's level 4. It's going to be as good as everything else, basically, most of the time. So, I wouldn't downplay it, basically. It's a pretty good helmet. Next we can talk about the Cayman. The Cayman's a weird one. Because the Cayman is only available... I mean, I don't even know if raiders and shit spawn on it. The helmet itself can be bought after you finish a quest. For not that expensive. It's like 60k, right? But you have to finish a quest, which is kind of a pain in the ass because it's quite a later quest. And the main reason that you want to wear the Cayman, it's only a level 3 helmet, actually. I didn't even know that. Fucking hell. I thought this was level 4. Okay, this is not getting very high rankings from me so far. So you can get a level 4 attachment. That's probably why I was confused. Which goes over your, like, top of your head and your nape. Doesn't actually protect, like, right here because there's a mount right there. Like, in the middle of your forehead. But it is level 4 for that stuff, and it does have 40 durability. And, obviously, with something that is an over-layered piece of armor, the armor underneath can also stop the bullet because the bullet will be slowed down by that upper layer. So that is going to make it stronger. Problem is that you have to buy the helmet after you finish a quest. Then you have to buy the fucking forehead plate. Then if you want the other attachments on top of that, you have to buy the fixed arm visor and the mandible, which all of these things are incredibly expensive. The forehead plate is level 4 Peacekeeper, and the fixed arm visor is only level 2, like, eye protection, and it provides a visor effect and the breathing. And the mandible is only level 2 protection, and it's quite a smaller mandible than the fast MT. It's not like a big, like, shield. It's more like a chin strap. So it's not great. I don't think the Cayman's that good. You have to spend so much money investment into it. I mean, the full setup is... If I look here. The full setup is 570 plus 400 plus the helmet itself, which is like 450. I mean, it's like 1,400 USD. 1,400 USD. So it's basically a 200,000 ruble helmet for tier 2 eye protection, which you can't flip up and is going to have downsides to it. A mandible, which doesn't even cover your whole face, really. And because I'm pretty sure it's got a gap in it. Let me just double check that. I just like to double check this stuff, well, if I can, just because I don't like to give out bad information. It doesn't really have a gap, to be fair, if you have the visor on as well. Yeah, it's not too bad gap-wise. Doesn't have any ear protection, though, which isn't great. And the forehead plate does kind of make it level 4. I mean, it makes it level 4 pretty much all the way around, but you can just buy a level 4 helmet. And it's like, it's not like this mandible and this visor is really that great. And the plate is level 4 Peacekeeper anyways. I just don't rate the Cayman very highly. It's alright. Is it better than a helm? This is a weird one because, like, the helmet itself is really not great. I mean, it's basically as good as a helm. But the thing is that it can have that forehead plate, which does up it, but the forehead plate basically makes it more expensive than just buying a level 4 helmet in the first place. So if you're buying the forehead plate, you might as well be buying the mandible and the visor, but if you're buying the mandible and the visor, why wouldn't you just run a better helmet? It's like, I just don't really see much of a reason to buy this thing. If you loot it off somebody, it's quite good. I mean, it's got 60 durability. That forehead plate plus the level 3 underneath is going to make it stronger than a level 4 helmet by itself. But the visor and the mandible themselves aren't that great, and you have no ear protection. And it's almost 200k. So you could just sell it and buy a TC800 and a face visor, and you've already got a better setup. You know what I mean? Like, you've got a level 4 helmet. You've got level 3 visor. You can flip it up if you need to. Like, it's already kind of a better setup in that regard. I just don't... This is a hard one to rank, actually. This might be the hardest one. I just don't see that much usability for this thing just because of the price tag. Like, it's just so expensive. But it does probably have more protection, but would I rather wear it over a helm? Would I rather wear it over a helm? Probably not. No, I probably would. No, I mean, I would, because, like, if you have the forehead plate, that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't go out of my way to buy one of these, but if you have it, you might as well use it. Like, these I would just sell. These I would just sell. These I would wear if I have them, but I wouldn't go out of my way to buy a helm. I would go out of my way to buy a shattered face mask. I might buy it. Well, you can't buy. Well, you can buy it off the flea market. I would never buy a Cayman, though. There's no situation where I'd buy a Cayman. I think it goes down to D tier for me. I would wear it if I had one, but I would never buy one. I think I think it has to be in D tier, but we have to say I would buy it if I had one, but I would wear it if I had one, but I would never buy one. I think that's what we have to rank that. Can't really give it more than that. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. That's a weird one. That's a weird one. I didn't even know it was a level 3 helmet. I thought it was level 4. So I thought it was pretty decent. Expensive, and the face protection wasn't great, but decent. But it's a level 3 helmet. I thought it was level 4 plus level 4, which is pretty tanky. But it's level 3 plus level 4, which isn't the greatest. Because it makes the helmet itself... Oh, and you can't even get it until you unlock it from a quest reward later on. Yeah. You do get the attachments relatively often in, like, stashes and stuff and, like, boxes. But the thing is that the helmet itself isn't common in boxes and stuff. So you don't really have anything to attach the attachments onto. So... And you have to complete, like, a kind of a late game quest to get access to the helmet, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that goes in D tier for me. I don't think that's a great helmet. I don't think there's many situations where you're going to be using that. Like, at least not buying it. Like, if you have one, sure, but buying it, nah. It's high ricochet chance at least, right? Let me double check. Yeah, it is high ricochet chance. That's good, at least. I mean, it is a lot of durability. That plus level 4 plate is going to make it a lot of protection, but maybe we put it here. Maybe we put it in C tier. Yeah, we'll put it in C. We'll put it in C. I think if you have one, it's worth wearing it. If you have the forehead plate. Without the forehead plate, I wouldn't wear it. But with the forehead plate, I think it's worth wearing. You slap the mandible and the face visor on there. You have a little bit of face protection. It's not too bad. No ear protection, but the actual helmet itself is going to be quite tanky. But it is quite an expensive helmet, so do keep that in mind. I think that's a fair ranking for it. We can move on from that one. That one's a little bit of a mind melder. What do we want to rank next? So we're getting into all the high tier shit at this point. This is like, these are the high tier helmets. This is what we're looking at when you're at the end game. Let's rank what I think is one of the best helmets. Right? We're just gonna go straight into it because this one, it's not even that late game. I think the Bastion is one of the best helmets in the game. I think it's one of the 2 best helmets in the game, actually. I think that this is extremely strong. The reason for this being so strong is because, one, it's super fucking cheap. The Bastion is like 66k or something like that. It's really not expensive. But the reason for that being is that it's not great by itself. It's just a level 4 helmet. It doesn't really have anything too great about it. It's got high durability. 48 durability is quite decent, but it doesn't protect your ears. It's just a big, bulky, top of the head nape helmet, right? Nothing too crazy. But the reason that I think this is one of the best helmets in the game is because it can have the Bastion plate attached to it. Now, the Bastion plate is kind of expensive. It costs like 2 golden eggs. You will find people with them quite regularly if they're like Chads and they're juiced up. You will find people with the Bastion plates. You can take them really easily because they only take up 2 slots. You can take them off mid-raid. And you should always take them. But the Bastion plate isn't that expensive. Eggs don't go for that crazy high amount. And this is level 6 armor on your head. Level 6 armor on your head all the way around, right? Like all the way around in a ring around your forehead. And around the back of your head and the sides. It's just a full, like, halo of level 6 armor on your head. And behind that level 6 armor is level 4. This is insane. Like, it really will stop most bullets in the game. And you do get shot in that ring quite often. Like, it is undeniably, I think, one of the best helmets in the game, just because there is just such a high chance that you get shot in that location and it stops it. So I do think this is really good. The downsides of it are no face protection, no ear protection, but it's very cheap. The Bastion plate plus the helmet itself is not going to set you back as expensive as some of these other helmets. Some of these other helmets are very, very pricey, and that is a factor to include. And I do think that that level 6 armor is something that you can't get on any other helmet in the game. So just that level 6 armor, I would wear it on long range maps. If I was going onto a long range map, something like woods, shoreline, outside of the resort, interchange, I mean, like any map where you're going to get sniped at, when they snipe at you, chances are there's a pretty decent chance that they're going to hit that halo of armor around your head, and you're going to fucking tank it just because you're wearing a Bastion plate, which is kind of insane. So I do really think this is one of the best helmets right now in the game, just because of the plate. If you're not wearing the plate, it's a generic level 4 helmet. There's really nothing great about it, but there's nothing bad about it either. So you can wear this helmet normally, and then when you want to go for a juiced up run, slap a plate on it. And then when you don't want to wear the run, or do it for, like, do a juiced up run, slap the plate off. And you can just wear it like a normal helmet. Legitimately, very good. So that, I think, is one of the S tier helmets. I think there's maybe 4 S tier helmets this wipe. Maybe 4. Okay. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. We'll see how I feel when I get into the other ones. I need to relax talking because I'm fumbling over my words. I'll take another sip of cranberry juice. Regenerate my talking abilities. Armor. I don't know why I combine words so often. It's because I think ahead in my sentences, and then I'm talking, and I've already thought ahead to the next thing, and so I combine the words together. Relax, the words aren't going anywhere. I know. They're getting away, yeah. All right, we're most of the way through. We're like 3/4 of the way through. All right, next, let's talk about the CQCM mask. I think this is another S tier helmet, personally. It's hard to say whether this is better than the Bastion or not, actually. It's hard to say. I think it's worse than the Bastion just because of the price tag associated with it. I do think that the helmet itself is probably better because this was introduced this wipe. The only really, like, consistent way to get a hold of these is from Lightkeeper. I do think that the event that they ran, like, halfway through this wipe where the snow cultists came by the bonfires, they had a ton of these masks, which really upped the amount of them that were in circulation. I think outside of that event, they're not going to be that common, but people do find them here and there and list them up on the flea market. Also, anybody that gets Lightkeeper is going to be able to sell these on the flea market next wipe, so you are going to have access to them. They are very expensive, but I do think they are probably one of the best helmets in the game. They have no downsides. They protect your full face with level 4 armor, high ricochet chance. Very strong. And it will win you fights for sure. Like, fights that you should not win. But I do think that the price tag associated with it is going to be very, very high. I think you're going to be looking at like a couple $100K for most of the wipe. Maybe later on, once a lot of people have Lightkeeper, it will go down just because so many people are listing them on the flea market. Because they are quite cheap if you have access to them. But if you don't have access to them, people can, like, gouge you with the prices on the flea market. So I would say that these are going to be quite expensive, but I do think that they are worth the pennies because man, it's quite a good helmet. Just the amount of fights that you're gonna win that you shouldn't just because you're wearing one of these is quite high. So I would say that they're S tier. I would say it's lower than the Bastion though, just because of the price tag associated with it. The Bastion plate is so much cheaper, but I would say that they're better in different situations. Like, I would not wear a Bastion plate into Factory. I would not wear a Bastion plate into probably Customs. I would not wear a Bastion plate into, like, Resort on Shoreline. Whereas all of those places, a CQCM mask will do wonderfully. You know what I mean? So it's like, they're better for different situations, but I think the Bastion plate wins out for me just because it is more easily accessible and it has more consistent protection, I guess I would say. But also, I mean, the CQCM mask also has more consistent protection because it does protect your face. You're not going to get one shot to the face unless somebody's using good rounds, as long as you're looking at them. It's just the price tag associated with the CQCM is my thing, but they are better in different situations. That's up to you. Up to you what you run at any given time. But if you're going like super juiced, I think they're both worth considering. Maybe the CQCM wins it out, especially because later on they're going to be quite cheap because people can relist them on the flea market. Also, anytime that somebody kills somebody wearing one, they can list it on the flea market. So if the Lightkeeper players are like running around with them all the time, then whenever they die, their CQCM is either going to be used by somebody else or listed on the flea market. So they actually will get into circulation quite a lot. So they actually might not be as expensive as I think, at least later on in the wipe. So CQCM probably does win it out just because of the consistency of always knowing that you have face protection. You know what I mean? Like, whereas the Bastion, you can always just get shot in the face and die. So it's a tough one, but I think the CQCM probably does win it out. Yeah, I think it probably wins it out. So next, what do we want to look at next? We can do ULAC. So this is a bit of an interesting one. The black ULOC helmet is not available anymore. They removed it. And you can trade it from the ref now for 12 GP coins. Not sure what level of the ref you can get that at, but that is the only way to get it now. The thing is that with the black ULOC is it obviously has no face protection. It's not going to have any kind of crazy like protection like the Bastion plate, but it does have ear protection. It has no downsides. It's quite a big chunky helmet, so it does have a lot of visual protection, which means it will stop bullets more often. It does have quite high durability as well. It's got high ricochet chance, and it's very well camouflaged, but it's not easily obtainable. I mean, how much is it on the flea market usually? I mean, you're looking at like 100K. I would think that's quite a reasonable price. Although I don't even know if you can find them in raid, so they might be, well, I guess the flea market doesn't use find in raid anymore, so it doesn't matter. It's hard for me to put this in S tier. I think we need another tier here. I think we need another tier. I'm gonna add another tier. I know some people might be like, oh, stop adding so many fucking tiers, bro. But I do think that more tiers are good when you have more, like, more nuance of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you want to show that these things are different from each other. Personally, I think more tiers is good as long as there's a reason for each tier to be different, if that makes sense. Like, there's a clear, like, oh, you know, this tier makes sense. This tier makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, so this is going to be, I guess this will be, okay. This is fine. This is fine. How are we looking? There we go. A little bit of an extension. So what I'm actually going to put in this tier is I'm going to put the striker helmets and these helmets here. So you've got these helmets, which I think are very good. These helmets which are good, these helmets which are decent, these helmets which are all right, these helmets which aren't great, and these helmets which are trash. And these helmets which I think are the best of the best. I think the U-Lock does go pretty high in A tier for me. I think it's got very high durability. I think it's got that ear protection. It's not too expensive. 100K is on the higher end, but it is a high-end helmet. It doesn't have any attachments. You can't put night vision on it, but I do think it's decent. And you are going to get quite solid protection out of it. But I don't think it's anything too amazing. Maybe it goes down below the TC800. Just because the TC800 can have night vision. It's super cheap. It's very easily accessible. And it can have that face visor if you want one. Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I do think the U-Lock is just a much better helmet. But in terms of usability, I do think the U-Lock has quite a lot of usability. I'm going to put the U-Lock above it. I think the U-Lock is like a better option. But it doesn't have the visor or night vision. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We do have the tan U-Lock. This is an interesting one. So a lot of people talk about the tan U-Lock as having a curse. The tan U-Lock curse. You wear the tan U-Lock, you get killed every time. Now, I do think that this has the same problem as the Untar helmet. This will get you spotted. 1000% will get you spotted. It is not a great helmet for camouflage. It is very obvious. Now, it is probably the second brightest helmet in the game, past the Untar helmet. It will get you spotted. I do think it has some usability outdoors. I think I wouldn't buy a tan U-Lock. I wouldn't. I would just rather buy a TC2000. That ear protection isn't really worth it. That extra durability, not really worth it. Especially outdoors. Outdoors, usually people tend to run bigger ammo. Stuff like bolt actions, stuff like DMRs. They tend to run like higher pen ammo in general. So I don't think that the ear protection or the extra durability really does that much. But I do think that outdoors you can wear this and get away with the tan. And it is quite a decent helmet. I wouldn't buy this helmet. I would not buy this helmet. Because chances are if you're buying it, you're just better off buying a Striker or a TC2000. It's just very expensive. And you're not really going to get that much out of it outside of some outdoor runs. And even then, it will get you spotted occasionally. So, I mean, like maybe... I can't say it's worse than a 6B47 just because level 4 armor is a big advantage. You will find some of these occasionally. And you don't need to buy them. You will find some. And when you do find them, you can run them outdoors, I would say. But I do think that their usability is quite low just because of how much they get you spotted. So, I would keep that in mind. Just be careful with it. Next, let's talk about the airframe next. And then we'll do the last 4 helmets, the double sets together. So the airframe is a bit of an interesting one because... while it is tan, and some people might say, oh, well, you just rated the tan U-Lock very low, so this one's going to be rated pretty low as well, right? No, not really. The airframe is tan, and it will stand out occasionally, but it doesn't shine tan, if that makes sense. It's a bit more of like a dull tan, a bit more of a sandy tan. So it doesn't really shine as much, and it doesn't get you as spotted as easily. I don't think that it's that big of a disadvantage. When you scope in on somebody with a tan airframe, you will notice it. Like, you will notice, and you'll be like, oh, that guy has a tan airframe. You'll notice it. It's a very noticeable helmet. But you're not going to spot him just because of his helmet, if that makes sense, in my opinion. I don't think the helmet itself is that recognizable. I don't think it's that noticeable at, like, a distance. But once you scope in, very recognizable, and you'll notice it. You'll be like, oh, there's that airframe. That guy's juiced. You know what I mean? The thing is with the airframe is that it used to be that the parts for the airframe were trade up only. You can buy the airframe ears and the airframe chops. They used to be like barters for GPXs and stuff. Now you can just buy them. Now this makes this helmet quite expensive. It is level 4 Ragman, or level 4 Peacekeeper, sorry. It is quite expensive to buy all these extra parts, right? But the airframe chops do protect the ears, and they have jaw protection, those little chops, which look really cool, to be fair. But they are level 3, but they do have high ricochet chance, so that is something to consider. And you can also put the face visor on it. Now, the thing is with this is that this is, in my opinion, the best face protection in the game. And that is why I would put the airframe as S tier. I would put it lower than these other helmets because, one, it's very expensive, but it has probably the best overall face protection plus head protection in the game, because you've got your level 4 airframe. You can wear a death shadow mask, which is level 2. You can wear condors, which are level 1. You can wear the chops, which are level 3 ear protection and level 3 jaw protection, and you can wear the ballistic face visor, which is level 3. So all of those things stacked, you have 2 layers of level 3, 1 layer of level 2, and 1 layer of level 1. And because of the armor stacking, that will reduce the chance that a bullet actually gets through and kills you. Is it going to work against high pen bullets? No, not really. But high pen bullets, like if you get shot with something that's tier 4, 40 pen, the CQCM mask might save you, right? Like if you get shot with something that's like 38 pen, the CQCM mask will probably save you more times than not, I'd say, or at least like 50-50, maybe something like that. Maybe 33% of the time. Close. If you go down to like 36 pen, it gets a lot worse, right? And then 35, you know, down. CQCM mask will become more and more consistent. The thing is that those, like if you get shot by like 38 pen with that setup on an airframe, you're probably not going to live. Even if it goes through the level 3, into the level 3, into the level 2, into level 1, I actually think that in that situation, you'd probably live. But if it goes through level 3 into level 2, and then probably just hits your face, chances are that's what's going to happen most of the time, and you're probably going to die. So you'd say, oh, well, CQCM mask is so much better then. But the thing is that this actually protects the rest of your head as well. And I do think that that gives it quite a big benefit. The thing is that it is quite expensive. This is quite an expensive setup. If you're going to run a Death Shadow, condors, the helmet, chops, and the face visor, I mean, you're getting to a point where you're basically paying the same amount as a CQCM mask in the first place, so why not just run the CQCM? And you're going to have the visor as a downside. So you could say that, and that's fair, but you will have the rest of the head protection. So I think it's a good extra option. I don't think the helmet itself is that, like, it's amazing, but if you want a different option than the CQCM, especially if they're really expensive on the flea market, because if you don't have Lightkeeper, you're going to be spending whatever the, you know, the price gouging demons that are charging on the flea market are going to be charging you for it. So I do think this is a decent option late game. If you have Peacekeeper level 4, you can buy those things and set yourself up a pretty expensive helmet, but it's quite a good option. So next, we're going to go into something that I think is fair, is the Fast MT, kind of a counterpart to the airframe, in my opinion. I do think it's worse than the airframe, and the reason for that is because the regular Fast MT is really hard to acquire now. It is trade up only for an MGT and an SGC10. It does come with a visor if you do that, and a rack headset, so it is kind of not too bad. But the stuff that you can put on the Fast MT is a lot more variable. You can put the slat plate, which is quite nice. You can put the ear armor and the visor. You can put the mandible if you want, and a slat plate and a death shadow mask, condors. You can mix and match quite a lot, and I do think that the customizability of the Fast MT is not to be what's the word I'm looking for? Disvalued, I guess. But I do think that because this is barter only, you're going to be relying on how acquirable those barter items are at any given time, and I don't think that the attachments are as good as the airframe's attachments. So I do think that the airframe kind of wins out, in my opinion. But this is another good option, especially because of the, you know, the modifiability of it and the, you know, differences that you can make. It does rank quite highly in my opinion. Fast MT tan is an interesting one because at this point, you're going to be quite confused. You're going to be like, well, he rated the Untar helmet down in E tier because it's so easy to spot. He rated the U-lock in the middle, and then he rates the airframe at the top. What the fuck? You know what I mean? Where's this one going to go? Well, this one is a weird one because it's quite noticeable. It's more noticeable than the airframe, but it's less noticeable than the U-lock for some reason. But the reality is that you're going to cover it up with a whole bunch of other shit most of the time. Like, you're going to cover it up with a visor, you're going to cover it up with a mandible, all this other shit. So it doesn't really show all that much as these other helmets do, like the U-lock. So I don't think it's as bright. You can buy this version of the Fast MT. That's one big thing, is that you can buy the Fast MT tan, but it is quite expensive. It's 800K, and it is locked behind a quest. So it does have its downsides, and obviously 800K is more expensive than the airframe, by the way. It's more expensive, but it's not that noticeable with the tan. I would say that it's just not that worth running compared to the airframe, because the airframe, you don't have to complete a quest. But the Fast MT does have a little bit more modifiability to it. Maybe B tier. I'd maybe put this in B tier. It's quite expensive. You have to complete the quest to unlock it, but it does have really nice attachment options. It's got quite a lot of modifiability, so you can change it up depending on what you want to do with it. So, I think I'll put it at the top of B tier, I think, because there is situations where you're going to want to buy one. If you've got the quest completed, you'll sometimes want to run this. There'll be situations where you might like the sound of it. I think if you got the quest completed, you probably have level 4 Peacekeeper. And if you have level 4 Peacekeeper, the airframe is cheaper and is better, in my opinion. And this kind of does stand out a little bit. Maybe down here. Maybe down there, honestly. It is a little bit noticeable. It is a little bit noticeable. It's not as noticeable as the U-lock, but it is kind of noticeable. The thing is that you're not going to really get these all that often. You're going to have to buy them a lot of the time. People wear them occasionally. You will find them in stashes occasionally. I mean, maybe it goes up here. Maybe it goes down here. It's kind of a tough one, the Fast MT tan. I hate putting it down here. We're gonna put it at the top of B tier. I think there is situations where you'll buy one. I think there is situations where you'll use one. I think that it does have some nice stuff about it, especially if you have some slap plates available. If you have that quest completed, you can't really get the Fast MT all that often. But if you are gonna spend the money on a Fast MT, chances are you'll just do the trade up and you'll get the black one, especially because it comes with that visor. It comes with the rack headset that you can sell for some of the cash back. Fast MT, I think, is legitimately pretty good. Fast MT tan, not so much. Not so much. Maybe down here. Fuck, I'm indecisive. No, it can't be worse than an SSH and a Tor. It can't be worse than those. Or maybe it can. No, we'll put it at the top of B. We'll put it at the top of B. I'm going to leave it there for now. So, lastly, we have the Exfil helmets. Now, these are a little bit interesting because you're also going to be confused about this one, because you're going to be like, well, what the fuck keeps putting these fucking helmets that are tan in different places? So these helmets are both unlocked at level 4 Peacekeeper, and one of them is a lot more expensive than the other. The black one is almost $1,000, whereas the Exfil is just shy of $900. Now, there is a reason for this. It's not actually just based on the color of the helmets. The tan Exfil helmet, for some reason, I'm not sure if this is intentional. Actually, it is. Now that I look at the helmet, there's a little wire frame on the top of it. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a little wire frame, like threading over the top of the helmet. The tan one cannot take the visor. right? I don't know why they put a tan visor in the game, but the tan one can't take visors. It can take the ear protection, but it can't take the visors. So it kind of defeats the purpose of using the exfil at all. One nice thing about the exfil is that the visor is quite small. It's quite a compact helmet. It just makes your silhouette a little bit smaller. And the visor does protect quite a lot. Like, it's quite a long thing of your face. I do think it's one of the coolest, like, looking helmets in terms of the visor. But it is very, very expensive. It's actually more expensive. You're paying more than the airframe setup. The airframe setup is $750 plus $350. So you've got 1,100 already, and then you've got 1,000 plus 500. So it's 1,600 all combined. Whereas the exfil for the black one with the visor is $1,000 plus $800. So you're paying an extra $200 for this helmet that isn't better in any way. Like, there's nothing better about it. It's actually worse, I would say. It's actually just worse. Both of the visors of the exfil and the airframe are identical. They both protect the same amount. The chops are identical to the ears of the exfil, except the chops extend and give you a little bit of jaw protection. And it also overlays. That's one thing about the ears as well, is that the ears on the exfil only protect your ears, whereas the chops are protecting your ears and they overlay onto your jaw. So if something hits you in the jaw, it has to go through the visor, then to the jaw, then the chops. So it does protect, like, give you a little bit of extra layered protection there. So I don't think that there's any real situation I would really buy one of these exfil tans. If you have one, not a bad idea to run it, but you're spending so much money for something that has no upsides, really. Like, it doesn't, none of the price tag actually makes sense, because you can only put ears on it and you can't put the visor on it. So it's not even like you have room for the attachments. And it's just a normal helmet. Like, when it comes down to it, a TC2000 is exactly the same as this helmet. They're identical except for the durability. Like I said, the durability will help a little bit, but once you get into level 4, the durability doesn't really matter as much. I don't think that you're really going to get that much value out of using one of these. If you find one, sure, use it up. It's great. But it's not really worth buying one. Kind of the same with the exfil. I kind of think I'd put it below the Fast MT, just because, like I said, the airframe basically just better. The airframe might get you spotted occasionally, but I don't think it really will. And it has that extra protection, that layered protection. It's cheaper. It has really no downside compared to the exfil. Like, the airframe is really a solid option. I know people don't use it as much as they used to. The airframe used to be like super meta like years ago, and people don't really use it as much now, but I think it's still a really solid helmet, especially for the price point. And compared to all these other high tier helmets, stuff like, the Fast MT, the U-Locks, the, exfil helmets, the airframe's still very solid. So I would definitely rate it quite highly still. I don't really see myself buying an exfil. I would rather buy a Fast MT tan, even if it gets me spotted. Fast MT tan is going to be a little bit cheaper. It's going to have a little bit better attachments. So yeah, I don't really rate the exfil that highly. It's just too expensive. It's too expensive for what it gives you. $1,800 is, I mean, if we see how much that actually is, I mean, you're spending $250K on your helmet for something that really doesn't give you that much benefit. Yeah, I don't really rate it that highly. I mean, think about it this way, right? You're spending $250K on your helmet. You can get yourself a TC800 for $40K and slap a $45K visor on it. The only thing you're missing compared to the exfil is a little bit of ear armor. And you just spent 90K compared to 250K. You can buy almost 3 of these helmets compared to an exfil, and the only difference you're going to notice is you don't have ear armor. It's level 3 ear armor. It's not like crazy good armor or anything. It's not like level 4 over your ears. It's level 3. It's just not worth it. Exfil's just not worth it. And this one can't even have the visor. So, and it's so expensive for not being able to have the visor. If you have one, run it. I'd put it above the 6B47s. I'd probably put it above the U-Lock, because it doesn't really get you spotted either, to be honest. I wouldn't put it above these, though, because I wouldn't buy one of these. It's just not worth it. I mean, you can have some ear armor, but it's level 3 ear armor. I don't know. You can just buy an airframe. Just buy an airframe and stick some chops on it. You don't even need to stick the visor on the airframe. You can just stick the chops on it. It's better than this thing. Yeah. Yeah, this thing's bad. We'll leave it down there. I think that's about it, honestly. I think that's about it. I think that's everything ranked. I think I went through them enough at the in the moment that I don't need to reshuffle them or anything. I think that these are pretty good rankings for them. I think that's pretty much it, honestly. I think that is a satisfactory job well done. Good rankings. Thank you. Thank you. I think I have a lot of knowledge on this subject in specific, because I do, when it comes to stuff like this, I do think about the ins and outs of my gear a lot more than most people do. Like, what I want to wear for different situations, and try and min-max the loadouts that I actually bring in terms of their value and what I'm trying to accomplish. So I do think that when it comes to stuff like this, I do have a little bit of interesting insight that people might, find useful, and they can just, look at something like this and be like, oh, this is why the TC 2000 is good. I'll use it a little bit more. You know what I mean? And they don't really need to think as deep into it as I do. They can kind of just use the knowledge that I'm providing and take advantage of that knowledge. I think this is pretty good. I think this is pretty good. I don't see anything wrong with this, I don't think. We can do a quick once over. Bomber beanie, pretty bad, kind of expensive, doesn't really provide much protection, if any. Death Knight, you're not really going to have it available all that often, and it doesn't really provide that much. Glorious Face Mask, too expensive to really run for the protection that it gives. Like, it's kind of a cheap loadout, but it's quite expensive for being cheap, so not really worth it. Neo Steel, horribly expensive and not really worth wearing because it's just level 3. If you have the mandible, it looks cool at least, but that's still only level 3, so it's not great. Tac Kek, it's a cheap night vision mount. It is high ricochet chance, so that's kind of nice, but not really worth it. Yeah. Untar helmet, it's a good helmet early on, but it's going to get you spotted really easily, so not really worth it. But early on in the wipe, you can use it for cheap runs. LZSH, just terrible, to be honest. It's cheaper than the 6B47, but it's basically worse in every way. Wouldn't really recommend it, but it can attach like a trooper mask early on in the wipe. If you find one of those, you can use it that way. But I wouldn't ever buy one. But if you have them, maybe run them early on. Cayman, way too expensive for what it provides. It's just not really that good. It's a super expensive helmet. It's not really that accessible. And it just doesn't really provide anything that amazing. But if you have one, it's kind of worth wearing it. So, Shatter Face Mask, pretty decent. It doesn't really provide much protection, but pretty decent for like cheap runs for just some high ricochet chance on your face. Kind of just like, think of it as like just a slot machine. You just slap these on every run and eventually you'll get lucky and it'll save your life. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what the Shatter Face Mask is. Helm, the helm has high durability for a level 3 helmet. It's not too expensive. Usually you can get them pretty cheap on the flea market. It's got a nice night vision mount. You can stick the Ops Core fast visor if you find one early on in the wipe on one of these. And it's a pretty decent helmet, but it is level 3 at the end of the day. And it's not super accessible. It might be kind of expensive on the flea market occasionally. So, and it doesn't have any ear protection. 6B47 is kind of your bread and butter early on in the wipe if you need night vision. They have ear protection, high ricochet chance, all that good stuff. They are pretty good camouflage. Solid helmets. You can acquire them quite easily. Level 2 Prapor. Very solid. Tan U-Lock. It's an alright helmet. It's expensive, but if you do loot them off people, you can wear them outdoors, I would say. It's like a very solid level 4 helmet. It has that ear protection. It has high durability, but it will get you spotted, so I'd only really wear it outdoors. Maybe not even on that high gear runs, just kind of on like all right gear runs. So, but I don't think it's worth like just selling. I think you can wear it on outdoor maps and not really have too much of a downside, but you will get spotted quite a lot because of it. So keep that in mind. Exfil Tan, it's just way too expensive. It doesn't really provide anything that useful because it can't wear the visor. It's way more expensive than the airframe. The airframe's just better. I mean, you can wear a TC800 and have a visor. The air protection is not that valuable. Got high durability, but it's just way too expensive and way too late game for what it actually provides. So it's not great, but it's still a level 4 helmet with high ricochet chance and some ear protection if you want to slap it on. So it's all right, and it won't get you spotted. The tan is like a dusty tan, so you won't really notice it all that much. So you don't get spotted really because of that helmet. Tor. Very solid choice, early wipe. It's got ear protection, high ricochet chance. It's level 3, but it can acquire a visor. It is kind of expensive. It's almost going to cost you like 100k, but visor with ear protection and a headset early on is very hard to acquire. I mean, honestly, until you get the Exfil or the Fast MT. Yeah, I mean, Exfil, Fast MT, and airframe are your only options for something along those lines at level 4. So until you get up to that level, the Tor is your only option for a face visor with ear protection and a headset. So definitely a solid helmet, especially early on in the wipe. It's got high durability too, 81 durability for a tier 3. Will stop some bullets occasionally. The SSH, very, very cheap. Very solid helmet early on in the wipe. It doesn't really have too many downsides. The ergonomic penalty is not too bad anymore, so this is a very solid helmet early wipe. If you don't need night vision, definitely buy these over the 6P47 because they're basically identical. It's just cheaper, but no night vision, obviously. The Striker helmets, they're decent. There's really nothing bad about them. It's just the TC2000 is just so much cheaper. You're going to be able to acquire the TC2000 earlier on. You're going to be able to find them in raids quite a lot, in stashes, boxes, all that stuff. So it's just cheaper to get TC2000s, and the TC2000s have a night vision mount. They're super accessible. So they're basically identical to a TC2000, just the TC2000 is more available, so it just is better. But the black Striker is better than the green Striker, I think, just because better camouflage. Black is just less noticeable than green in more situations. So Exfil Black is an alright helmet. It's just super expensive, and like I pointed out, 200,000 more expensive than the airframe, and doesn't really provide any extra benefit. It's actually kind of worse than the airframe, and you unlock them at the same time. There's just not really many reasons to wear an Exfil, but the Exfil is good. It's just not ever worth it more than an airframe. It is less noticeable than an airframe, but it's all right. It's not bad. Fast MT Tan is a little bit cheaper than the Exfil. You've got a little bit more modability options. You've got some options that you don't have on the Exfil, like if you do want jaw protection, you can run the mandible. You can just run the ear protection for a lot cheaper than the Exfil. You can just run the visor if you want to. It's a lot more modifiable, but you will get noticed a little bit with the Fast MT Tan. So, you know, swings and roundabouts there. But it's not a bad helmet. It's a little bit cheaper, so kind of decent. TC2000 and the TC2001 are basically identical, but the TC2001 is more acquirable because you can actually buy it. Really solid helmets. These are like your bread and butter for most of the wipe, I would say. You transition from like 6B47s and SSHs over to these things, and then over to the late game stuff later on the wipe, I'd say. But the TC2000s, I mean, head, top, Nate protection, high ricochet chance. They're green. They're not going to get you noticed. They work on pretty much any map. They have night vision mounts. They're super accessible, super cheap. You're going to have lots of them in rotation. You're going to find them on other people. Just a really solid helmet to wear pretty much all the time. And they are pretty much identical. So TC800, very underrated. I would say super good trade up. Level 2 Peacekeeper, maps, and a hard drive. it's like 45k for one of these, and it's level 4 armor, and it can mount a Ops Core fast visor on it if you find one of those in a stash or anything. For a very solid blacked out helmet that is got a visor on it, very solid for the price tag, super cheap, definitely worth it. Black U-Lock, super good protection. Sadly, you can't buy these anymore. You are going to be able to trade them from the ref for gold coins, but it's a little bit, it's iffy. I kind of want to drop this one down, to be honest, maybe down there, just because you're not going to be able to acquire these very easily, and the protection of them just isn't what it used to be. It is quite high durability, but it does have ear protection. It is level 4 ear protection, actually. That's not accessible anywhere else, actually. Okay, never mind. We're putting it back up. We're putting it back up. It is level 4 ear protection. You can't get that on any other helmet, so that is one thing that the U-Lock still has going for it. So yeah, but you're not going to be able to acquire these that easily, but they are probably one of the most solid helmets in the game without any attachments. So obviously that will make them a lot cheaper than the other options. So that is kind of something they have going for it as well. But I don't think I'd put it up here with some of the best helmets, just because the other ones just have better things going for them, I think. So I think it's a good helmet, kind of a great helmet, but not one of the best, if that makes sense. I don't think it deserves to be up in the S tier, but it's close. It's close. Fast MT, very solid helmet. It is not noticeable like the Fast MT Tan is. Got all those modability options. You can mod it out quite a lot. There's a trade up for it. The trade up's a little bit expensive, but it's not too bad. It does come with a visor and a rack headset, so you can sell the rack headset, make some money back from that, and the visor obviously makes it cheaper. So I think this is a very, very good helmet. But I do think that the Airframe Tan is better, just because it is... it's not cheaper. They probably come out to around the same price, to be honest. But the Airframe has one of the best face protections while also keeping helmet protection in the game. And that's why I put it in S tier, because you can run Death Mask, Fast MT Visor, Chops, and Condors all together while still having a level 4 helmet over your top of your head and your nape. Whereas the CQCM is only level 4 over your face. So while it might be better face protection, obviously you lose out on the helmet protection. So I do think that the Airframe deserves to be up here just because of that, because it is the best face protection while not throwing away helmet protection. But it is still quite expensive for what it provides, so it's kind of a if you feel like it, it's a good option. But I would say that these options are better, especially for their price tags, but they're more situational, if that makes sense. Whereas the Airframe Tan is a little bit more all-encompassing, but it is quite expensive because of that. The Bastion, super normal helmet, super generic. It honestly is just the same as like a Striker or a TC2000, and it's quite expensive, so it would be below the TC2000, probably even below the Striker. But that Bastion plate really propels it up to being one of the best helmets, because that level 6 halo around your head is just not to be fucked with. That is so much protection. One of the best head protections in the game, but obviously it is only a sliver halo around your head, so it's not going to be as applicable as some of these other helmets, but it does have some of the best protection because of that, and it's quite cheap and quite easily accessible, and it's quite, you can just slap one on and slap the plate on, for lack of a better term, and you know, just run it super easily. And you can also just take the plate off. You know what I mean? If you kill somebody who has one in the raid, you can just take the plate off mid-raid and take it with you. It's only 2 slots. Or if you get out of a raid super juiced and you're like, oh, I don't really want to go back in that juice, you can put the plate away, save it for later in your stash. Only 2 slots. And you can go back in with just a normal Bastion helmet. And that's still a very solid helmet. So I think that that does give it a little bit of value there. But it is overpriced compared to like these helmets, which without the plate, they provide the exact same thing. So the CQCM, I do think, is probably the best helmet in the game, just because that level 4 face protection will make you win fights that you really don't deserve to win. It is kind of insane, but you're going to be price gouged on the flea market quite a lot by people who have Lightkeeper, and you know, just how low the price really drops. It's not going to drop that much most of the time. These are going to be quite expensive. but they are very good and very worth running, because when you do run them, you are gonna get value out of it. It will win you fights that you shouldn't win, in my opinion. But if you do have Lightkeeper, I mean, you can run them all the time. They're pretty cheap. But if you don't have Lightkeeper, you're going to be, you know, paying whatever the people who have Lightkeeper want to charge you, in combination with all the other people who are selling them from the people they kill on the flea market. So depends whatever the price is, but these are probably the best helmet in the game, I'd say. So up to you if you want to wear them. I don't think that they're applicable in every situation, like on an outdoors map, like woods, maybe shoreline outside the resort, maybe even interchange, because you're not always going to be looking at your opponents on those maps, and if you get shot anywhere else, you have no armor, so one buckshot could take you out. But like stuff like factory, customs, inside the resort on shoreline, these are like crazy invaluable. Like reserve tunnels even, like these are crazy strong. Anything you're looking at has a really hard chance of killing you, and it really lowers the amount of danger that you're in at any given time. So definitely very, very strong, and why I'd probably say it's the best helmet in the game currently. There you go, a little summary to summarize it up, each helmet, in case you missed me actually ranking them all, and also just to put the thoughts a little bit more concise at the end on each one. I think A+ overall. Did I talk about the black U-lock enough? I might have skimmed over it a little bit. Overall, it's just a very solid helmet. It's got that level 4 ear protection, which no other helmet has, and high ricochet chance, level 4. It's very unnoticeable. Problem is that you can't buy it anywhere, so it's kind of hard to acquire and can be kind of expensive at times. And obviously you have no face protection, but if you don't care about the face protection, it's the best helmet in the game, hands down, just because of that level 4 ear protection. So, but the amount, like, I kind of feel like it deserves to be S tier, but the fact that it has no night vision mount, no face protection, and it is kind of hard to acquire makes me feel like it's not that great. But the other stats of it are like best in the game kind of stuff, so I feel like top A does make sense. I think that's about it. I'm about fucking talked out, honestly. That's a lot of talking. It's funny because I take things that are a lot of talking and I make them even more talking because of how much I talk. I take something that's like, oh, you know, it's like, you know, that's quite a, you know, a large amount of talking in that activity, and then I turn it into even more talking. Talked out impossible. No, I kind of am, honestly. I kind of am talked out. Kinda am talked out. A little bit talked out. But hopefully it was a fun little tier list. Fun little talk about some items. Talk about some shit. I thought it was pretty informative. I thought it was pretty good. Make a good YouTube video. A+. Job done. No, I would like to upload that though sometime soon. I did make a thumbnail, so I can upload that at some point. I will edit out some of it. We'll do some slight editing. I am my own editor. Super pro editor, I swear. I'm not that great at editing. I'm alright though. I did upload another episode of The Darkwood. If anybody's still waiting on that. On my YouTube. Another episode. If you do want to check it out, it's up to it's episode 5, so if you want to check that out, you know, It'll be worth it, you know, kind of a good watch. You'll have to rewatch the rest of the series to actually catch up first, though. Finally, yeah. It is... I have been working on it more. I've been working on them more frequently. It's been a lot easier to edit now that I've learned a little bit more about editing. So I do actually already have episode 6 ready to go. Episode 6 is already ready. So episode 6 will be out in like a week. So it actually is doing a lot better. I'm actually episode 6 is already ready to go as well. So hopefully I'll find some time for episode 7 and I'll keep it up because I do want to actually finish that. I'd like to play some Darkwood on stream. It's a really fun game. Really cool game. I'm actually a huge fan. Watching and editing it recently is like maybe they're like, oh yeah, that game was really cool. And I'd like to play some more. I think it'd be really fun to play on stream too. It's a fun little game. Definitely worth checking out if you're into survival horror type stuff. Like horror games that actually have quite a lot of gameplay to them and survival aspects. And if you like top-down games. If you like top-down games, it's one of the best top-down games I've ever seen, honestly. It really utilizes the top-down mechanics. It really utilizes the top-down, like, atmosphere really well. So, I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're into any of those things. Super cool game. Super cool game. It's a shame that it's like not that well known. But the people who do know about it, like, it does have very good Steam reviews. Like, Steam reviews for Darkwood, very good. Like, it's overwhelmingly positive. 94% of the reviews for the game are positive. 95% in the last 30 days are positive. Like, came out 7 years ago as well. Very, very good game. Definitely worth checking out. I'm a big fan. Oh shit, this game looks cool. Shit, I want to play that. I really like top-down games. I don't know what it is. I really like top-down games. Top-down games might be my favorite perspective. I really like top-down. I don't know why. There's something about controlling my character from like a top-down perspective that I really, really enjoy. Like, I mean, obviously you've got good old FPS, right? Or just first person, or FPP. But I don't know, top-down's like special. I don't know, it feels like unique. You know what I mean? When a game does it well, it feels really cool. Big fan of top-down games for sure. Oh shit, Foxhole actually did naval warfare. Dude, Foxhole actually looks like something I'd really enjoy. I feel like I would get way too into Foxhole. I'd probably get way too into Foxhole. What was I about to look up? Don't know. I did upload my fucking big brain Omen play as well as a YouTube short. We'll see how well that does. We'll see how well that does. That is from like literally 4 years ago, but I did think it was worth uploading because it's a pretty hype clip. Pretty hype clip. Shorts on YouTube are really weird because they like my shorts for some reason. I don't know if it's for everybody's shorts, but my shorts for some reason they get like no views, like literally 0 views for like 24 hours, like none. I mean like 0. And then after 24 hours, there's like this huge spike where they get like 400 views and they stop. It always stops at 400. Really strange. At least all my Tarkov ones. All of my Tarkov shorts have been like that. I did upload a... Actually, not my meleeing one. There was one that didn't get that, but... Okay, there's a couple outliers, but the majority of them have worked like that. They get no views for 24 hours, and they spike to like 400. And I mean, out of my 12 Tarkov clips, 9 of them worked exactly like that, which is really strange. Mysteries of the algorithm. No, yeah, the YouTube Shorts algorithm seems a lot more specific. I don't know why, but it works in like a very specific way. Whereas the YouTube video algorithm seems to work in a normal, like, discernible way. Like, you're able to kind of understand, like, oh, you know, my video's got a very popular thumbnail. This game's really popular right now. You know what I mean? Like, people are searching this term a lot. You know what I mean? Like, that seems to work. But the YouTube Shorts algorithm seems very strange. But it is quite new. So, that might be why. It is quite new. Also, something weird about my shorts on YouTube are that they get upvotes or downvotes, and then they disappear. Which is very strange. And I don't know why it happens. But they'll get, like, I had a YouTube short that went down to, like, I had like 12 downvotes. I'm not even joking. It was like 12 downvotes on my YouTube short. And then they all just disappeared. Like, they all just disappeared. So I'm not sure what that was about. Not sure. Deleted bot accounts. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, I was thinking like it was some bot shit. But it was just very odd. I thought like I was like, oh shit, my fucking thing got really downvoted, man. People fucking hate that shit. I thought people were hating it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm getting harassed now by fucking people trying to promote my stream. That's what they offer me. They offer me, hey, I would like to promote your stream. And they say that they have like a fucking gaming blog. Some guy told me that he was from Polygon. And he messaged me on Twitch in private DMs and said he was from Polygon. And then he said that somebody was going to send me a friend request on Discord. And it was going to be, the name of their Discord account was Kai CNAT. CNAT? CNAT? And I was like, okay, dude, I'm not sure I trust that. I was like, okay, dude, I'm not the dumbest in the tool shed. Nice try though. Nice try. I don't know, man, dude. The scams are wild, dude. The scams are wild. You made it. I know. I've made it. The scams are crazy, man. Fucking crazy. How long has it been? It's been 6.5 hours. It's still fucking raining? What the fuck, bro? Why is it still raining? I don't really feel like playing anymore, Tarkov. Is there anything else I feel like doing? Is there any games on my list? Games to play that I could jump on for some memes? Any games I could jump on for the memes? For the memes. Basement Collection. Basement Collection. Could jump on that for the memes. Not really a game for like a whole day kind of thing, is it? That demo looked pretty great. What did you actually rate that demo? Legitimately. Like, honest. Honest, what'd you think? 1 out of 10. Well, 1 to 10, I should say. Not 1 out of 10. 1 to 10. Actually, not that bad. No, yeah, I didn't think it looked that bad either. For, like, an indie game from, like, 2 guys. Horror game. Like, a 2-man team. It looked pretty solid, honestly. Like, it actually looked like... I liked that there was actually gameplay elements. 2-man team, like a 6. I'd give it higher than a 6. I'd give it like a 7.5. I thought the demo looked good. Whether the game's actually good, the trailer looked good. Maybe a 7. Maybe a 7. Maybe a 7. I'd have to play it though. They messaged me on Twitter. That's why I looked at it in the first place. They didn't like offer me anything. They just said, hey, you know, do you want to check out our game? You can tell us when you're playing it and we'll, I don't know. I'd like to recommend my indie game to you. It's a very unique anomaly horror game. You can play the demo on Steam. Let us know if you decide to play it live. We'll announce to your audience, to our audience, and we'll try to join the stream and engage in the comments. We love to give back and support streamers. The problem for me is that if I play their game and I hate it, I don't know. I would feel really bad. Like, cause like I'd like to be honest, but I can't crush somebody's fucking like hopes and dreams like that. Like I'm not an asshole, you know what I mean? Like I like to be an honest person, but like I know how much work goes into video games, you know what I mean? Like I know how much work and passion and stuff goes into it, and I feel like I can't just like shit on that, you know what I mean? Like and like, but I mean, like, I feel like I usually give like pretty fair criticism, but I also kind of talk shit, like on that Thief map design. That pissed me the fuck off. But to be fair, not many things piss me off like that. Thief like specifically pissed me off. There was something about that game that was just infuriating. Criticism is honest, it's fine, even if it's negative. As long as you don't go too far. I think, even if it's honest, if you're talking a lot of shit, it's not fair. You know what I mean? As long as you are, like, actually pushing towards criticism and not hate, I think that's fine. And I think if you're making a product, you have to be prepared for people to dislike it. That's the truth. If you're making a product, if you're giving people something, if you're showing off something, if you're creating something and showing it to people, or providing it to people, even me, like I'm creating a stream and I'm providing it to people, showing it to people, I need to be prepared for people not to like it for some reason, and for them to say, hey, I don't like this thing, and that's okay. You know what I mean? So I have to assume that they are, you know, any game that I play, they're gonna understand, you know, the people that I'm playing the game are mature enough to take that and be okay with it. You know what I mean? Because also, sometimes just things aren't for you. You know what I mean? Like, that's the truth. Like, sometimes some people might come into my stream. I don't like your stream. That's okay. That's okay. I'm curious why you're still here, but not enough DVD. Okay, dude. I really want to time you out. I really want to click the button. I'm hovering over it right now, but I won't press it. I won't press it. Not enough DVD gameplay. Get the fuck out of here. Is that a real 6 or a game reviewer 6? Well, I said 7. I said 7. You would never. Well, I know that it would make you sad to have it on your permanent record, so I won't. I won't. I know you don't like that. That's just complaining. Gotta express why it's shit. Well, in that case, I feel like I do a pretty good job. I usually probably talk too much about why something's shit. I feel like I probably don't shut up about why something's shit. So in that regard, I think I've got it nailed. But no, I mean, I try, because, like, I don't like to just say that something's bad. You know what I mean? Like, I always think that that's, like, if the best that you can do is just say that something is shit or something's bad, then you don't really deserve to be saying it's bad in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, you can say, I dislike this, but you can't say it's bad. If something is bad, you have to say why. You have to express why. If you don't like it, that's different. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means you dislike it. And you have to express that. I dislike this thing. This isn't for me. You know what I mean? I don't like this. But you can't say, this is bad. This is shit. You know, it's not very good. You can't say that because you're not expressing why. You're not giving any grounds for those feelings. You're just spouting nonsense. So, I feel like you always have to express why. And if you can't, then you just have to say, I dislike this. That's fine. Even if you're expressing why and you're wrong, that's okay. As long as you're expressing why, that's your opinion. And your opinion can be wrong. And it's okay to share wrong opinions. I don't think that just because your opinion's wrong doesn't mean you should share it, but you need to always accept that your opinion can be wrong. And you need to be prepared to defend your opinion and argue why your opinion is correct. Or you need to be prepared to back down and accept that you are wrong, because it is just an opinion at the end of the day. None of it's factual. None of it's objective, because it is just your opinion on what you think. I think that's like, the problem is that people will present opinions nowadays and they'll get offended if you tell them they're wrong. And it's like, well, but that's your opinion. Your opinion can be wrong. You know what I mean? It's not a personal attack. It just means your opinion is wrong. And I can express that, and then we can have discussion about it. We can have discourse about why it's wrong. And you can say, this is why it's right. And I can say, this is why it's wrong. And we can, you know, go back and forth civilly and get to a point where it's like, oh, you know, you brought up some good points. I brought up some good points. We've, you know, progressed our knowledge on the subject. This is like how we progress as, like, human beings, as, like, a society. I don't know. Your opinion is wrong and you should feel bad about it. I mean, sometimes people make some pretty stupid opinions, to be fair. Sometimes people do make some pretty stupid opinions, to be clear. But just because they're wrong doesn't mean they should feel bad about their wrong opinions, to be fair. But it is funny when people give really bad opinions. I don't really want to play any more Tarkov. If you were here just for the Tarkov, I apologize. The rain means I can't really go for Zrechi anymore. The maps are all really dead except for the event map, which has changed to reserve now. If you do want to play reserve, feel free. I mean, you know, play the event. I'm just not really interested in it. I don't really find the event that fun. I'm going to return to Tarkov once the event ends, and maybe some on the 9th. So if you do want to hop back in, I'll be aiming for some achievements and stuff like that. So if you do want to, feel free to hop back in. I do stream pretty much every single day. If you enjoy the stream, you can hop back in. I'll be doing some more tier lists, doing some more achievements, doing some more fun things. I was thinking about doing a day where I just use the toy gun on factory and try and get a kill with the toy gun. That might be kind of fun. I'm hoping that once the event's over, people will flock to the other maps a little bit and we can have a little bit more fun on Tarkov before I kind of move on for the wipe. But if you enjoyed the stream, hit the follow button before you leave. It's free. It lets you know the next time that I stream, and I do stream pretty much every single day. I do play a variety of games, not just Tarkov, and I do plan to play some more Tarkov in the future, though, so hit the follow button if you like before you go.